We are back here with Front Office View Fridays here with a special guest here, another baseball person, which is really cool to know, especially with the baseball season right there. My Minnesota Twins, unfortunately, are not doing well at all, and they were said to be the best baseball team in MLB, but I'm definitely second guessing here. But we had Abby Haling, graphic designer and photography for Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. Abby, how's everything going today? And what does your position kind of entail?
It's doing great. Yeah, thank you so much for having me again. This is super fun. I love talking about my job and how other people can get involved with it. But yeah, I'm a graphic designer and photographer for the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. Basically, what that means is all print signage, social media graphics, all of that stuff comes through my team. And then I'm also the team photographer, so headshots. I'm down on the field with the team on game day. I get to travel with the team occasionally, but yeah, I just take photos for the team and get the players to kind of build their social media and do all that fun stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, photography for me is definitely not my forte. It's tough to do, and like you said, you're
it's a
like,
niche thing. It's a
right?
niche thing for sure.
It's like when you take photos, you're like, oh, I'm just taking photos of the team. Like the photos you take compared to the photos I take, obviously there's a reason why you're in the position you are versus me.
Thank you.
But
Yeah.
can you kind of go in depth on like, did you always kind of see yourself doing more like the graphic design and photography, or what kind of led up to kind of going that down that area?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say always, but I've always been more creative than anything else. I was always really bad at math and science, which was the opposite of my family. My whole family are educators, so they all are teachers. And I was kind of just like ready to follow in that footstep. And then I really, really always loved art. I loved painting. I loved doing all of that stuff. But I was like, how can I find a feasible job that is going to give me a good career that's stable? And I'm also doing something super cool. And so then I kind of fell into graphic design and I get to do a little bit of everything that I love. I've always been really tech savvy, so it was really easy for me to learn it. So since I was about 15 years old, high school, I was like, I really want to be a graphic designer. I kind of pursued sports in high school, and then going into college, I really made my choice by going to Western and doing graphic design. So I didn't know at first that I wanted to work in sports, but it kind of just fell into my lap, and it's just been like the craziest whirlwind of the last 3 years working here. So yeah,
Work is a crazy career, and like you said too, it's like you didn't know until kind of when you got closer to the college kind of
Mhm.
level there, and you talked about going to Illinois University. What kind of led you to go that down that path? I know you said that your whole family are educators and stuff, so it's kind of taking a different path, which we love to hear, just because with this podcast we like to highlight obviously people's journeys and kind of going the opposite way of the family tide there. So I'd be curious on like what kind of made you go down to choose that university versus other
Yeah.
options. And then, like you said, graphic design and marketing, that was something that was always in your tool belt then.
Yeah, Western is a D1 school with a really small campus. I toured it very early on, my junior year of high school. I actually had no intention on going there at all. That's always usually how it goes. I was not going to go there. I told my parents, I was like, completely no. Like, I have no interest in going to the school at all. And I kind of fell in love with one of the professors there. And I fell into the art program, and it was a super competitive but really small program. So I was able to get a lot of experience with such small classes. And my classes were maybe like 6 to 7 students each. So I got to meet a lot of people and have extra time with one-on-one with professional people. I met some really cool people working there. And then I was able to get some really cool jobs on campus with sports and everything. So yeah, but graphic design, like I said, my parents were teachers, and I watched them do their job and come home and be so tired at the end of the day. And I've always been a hard worker, but I just wanted to do something different. I saw them do their job. And for me personally, I just don't think I would have fit talking in front of a bunch of high school students or elementary kid students. I needed to do something that allowed me to be creative and have that outlet as well. So
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ironic you're saying like kind of be behind the scenes instead of right in the operations, right in
Yeah.
the front there, which, I mean, you're taking photos and stuff, so people are obviously seeing you take photos and everything, which is kind of
Yeah.
ironic, looking at.
Yeah, but I like being behind the camera. I don't like being in front of it. So, I've gotten a lot more comfortable as a professional doing that. But when it first started, I had no interest in being in the limelight. Like, I just needed to kind of do my job, be there, get it done, and then move on. So,
Yeah, and you're doing a great job there,
thank
obviously.
you.
Like it's exciting to look at your career and looking back and making that decision. I think it's kind of funny. You're like, I didn't commit until like last minute kind of thing, which is really cool to
Yeah.
see as well. And like you said, having a smaller kind of class helped you kind of get more of an idea of like where you can kind of perfect your craft as well as just grow on that side. And
Yeah.
ironically in sports, like yeah, it's still exhausting too, but it's a different exhausting, if that makes
Hmm.
sense when it comes to that. And you said that you kind of made the decision to get into sports, kind of not earlier than a lot of people, especially myself. Did you
Yeah.
play any sports when you were younger? What kind of like led to just saying, "Hey, I'm going to do sports. I'm going to do this thing, and I'm going to do it good."
Yeah, my family has always been super sports oriented. My dad coached three sports. I was skiing before I could walk. I was a competitive cheerleader. My brother was a football player, lacrosse player. Like we did everything. I ran track and field, played soccer for a bit. Like it was just something that we were always super involved in. We always had something on the TV. So I grew up in the realm of sports. And it just felt weird not like participating. So it was like wrong. Like you had to be doing something all year round. So my brother and I were both like four sport athletes. Like we were on four teams at a time, and it was just like I think that's where I learned to love the busy and like love the chaos of constantly having something to do and never being able to like sit. I'm definitely a type B personality. So
You have to keep moving and everything. And I never
yes,
played that
yes.
many sports, so like I can
Yeah, we did a lot. And we're still like my parents are both retired, but my dad still refs in the state of Wisconsin. So we're still involved with football, lacrosse, all of the sports. But it just kind of made my decision to want to work in sports like very easy because I just understand the world of it.
well,
So
and like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like you're around sports, watching sports. You're like, why not be in sports? It's kind of
yeah,
ironic, right? Put that to fruition. And so you kind of talked about like what was something that kind of like set you apart. Minus, playing four sports is crazy throughout a year, not having any like. I mean, I took a break. Obviously, didn't go pro
yeah,
for any of them, but like you said, like you had to constantly just be doing something. But what kind of set you
yeah.
apart when it came to yourself as well as other people in it made the decision to work in the sports industry.
Yeah, I think, something that sets me apart from a lot of my peers that are also in the same career path as me. I think it's just the fact that like I live by this and it's like if I want to do something, I'm gonna do it. You can't be scared to put in the effort and the time it takes. Nobody can stand in your way to get it done. And I kind of like have this mindset that, nothing can't be accomplished. So if I really want to do something, like I'm gonna make it happen. And some people can be like, wow, like, that's really bold of you, Abby. But, I really think that life is too short to not take opportunities. So I think, it's a combination of things. It's the willingness to work and drive, to learn more. You can learn something new every day, but it's not just making something look good, it's making it work for your brand. And it's also the people. So being willing to work with a multitude of different people. Everyone here comes from a different place. And it's just kind of your willingness to adapt to different types of people in the ballpark. And yeah, and mostly the willingness to do it and how much time it takes to be here. Like I'm here 96 hours a week sometimes in the summer. And a lot of people would be like, no way, like you work too much. But at the end of the day, like this is really what I want to do. I get to come to a ballpark for work. And I think that says everything. So,
Yeah, having coworkers that are great too around you like makes those
yeah,
long hours like much more attainable. Even the tough days,
absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Even
Yes.
those tough days where you might not be 100%, but you got someone next to you that's 100% that's going to put you at least to 50%, which we'll take on those days. And
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's crazy that you're saying like you're putting those hours in as well, and obviously it didn't start from just there. Like you had your first internship on the graphic design side with Wausau Cyclones Hockey, if I didn't butcher that.
No, you
How
got it. You got it.
I got it right on. Look at that. So obviously myself even learning and building off my resume. But what kind of led to that position, and what do you learn on like
Yeah.
the hockey side? Because I know in Wisconsin, hockey's big, but it's definitely not one of those big sports quite yet.
Mhm.
But what kind of led you to go down that path and try the hockey side?
Yeah, so the Wausau Cyclones was kind of a cool situation. We had a really big high school hockey team. Hockey was like our football, like everyone goes to football games, everyone went to hockey games. It was just something we were always really involved with. And the high school coach, his family decided to buy our semi-pro team in town of just three NHL and flip it. And he knew that I was getting into graphic design. He was actually my graphic design teacher in high school. So it all comes full circle. And he was like, I really want you to help us do this. Like, he had no one there for marketing. It was literally him, general manager, all of the owners, and the ticket staff. And he's like, I want you to come in. And he's like, do the design, do the social media, everything. So I was in school while I was doing this. So on top of being in school, having a job at school, I also was doing this internship. But it was really cool because I had like the creative freedom to just kind of run with their brand. And they brought back an old Wausau logo for it and they kind of revamped it and modernized it a little bit. So they brought it back to the community. The games kind of picked up again and it was really fun because I got to do like my first ever print signage, a lot of social media graphics and working directly with their GM and owners. So yeah, that was another one that just kind of came at the right time. And I didn't get paid for it at all. Nothing like that. I just kind of went in there and put my head down and got to work and kind of flipped their stadium and their social media and stuff around, kind of build them a brand. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, with social media, I mean, I at first thought I was like, oh, social media is not that hard. And now when we've had people who've done social media marketing, all that stuff, I'm like, holy cow,
Mhm.
there's a reason why I don't do social media. Like I can't post frequently on my side. I can only imagine if
Yeah.
part of that. But you said too, like it was a teacher that knew what you wanted to do and pursue, which is incredible. I would never
Yeah.
have guessed that, obviously. But
Yeah.
like, what was like something maybe like a cool graphic or something that you were able to make that you've seen, obviously, from now moving forward, to really excel when it comes to the Cyclones hockey?
Oh gosh. Honestly, I kind of, there's small things in graphic design that can really like make or break their marketing and branding. And they had none of it. They had a font, they had a logo, and that was it. But Cyclones hockey, the old jerseys were known for having stripes on their like sleeves and on like the bottom of the jersey. So I kind of took that and implemented that into all of their social media graphics, and they just kind of like ran with it. And they use it on all of their branding now. It's on all of the signage in the stadium or in the arena and everything. And I just think that's really cool because that was just something I came up with for them and they're still using it. So, and it's been like 5 years. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that they've decided not to change that. But every time I see like a poster in town of their schedule or something, it's got the stripe on it. And I'm like, wait, that's pretty cool. Cause that was kind of me implementing like what I thought looked good for them. So they kept it all these years. So
Yeah, it's you got your
yeah.
mark on their
Yeah.
hockey, right? On the Cyclones
Yeah,
hockey.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
as of right now, it's still the same, which is really cool. So I'm sure it's
Yes. Yes.
nice to know. And then other people like they don't know, but right? As a graphic designer,
Exactly.
you do that. You just don't
Hmm.
necessarily you know that you've done it, but you know that people aren't necessarily going to talk about it as much as like, oh, we signed this player, we did this, right?
Yep. Yep.
Like the nitty gritty. But also
Absolutely.
you did also get experience when you were in the university at Western. What
Yeah.
kind of led you to do that? Obviously, in college, the biggest thing is get experience, get experience. Like you
Absolutely.
said, like you don't have to get paid, but the experiences get set you apart. Classes only do so much nowadays. Back in the day, yes, classes were like, holy cow, you do this,
Yep.
get this. But in sports, classes doesn't do anything. GPA doesn't do anything.
Nope.
It's what you've been able to experience and everything. So if you can kind of talk about that and how you were able to get that opportunity as well.
Yeah, I'm anytime I talk to high school or going to college students right now, I literally cannot stress enough networking. It is so important. It is so important to get out of your comfort zone and reach out to people. The reason I got the opportunity in college that I did was because I DM'd someone on Instagram and I ended up working for the university for 3 years, doing a lot of stuff for athletics. I actually did all of the graphic design for every student organization on campus. So ran their social medias if they needed that, all of their designing, flyers. So pretty much everything that was put around campus was something that like I designed, which was super cool and super rewarding, and it built my portfolio like crazy. But yeah, the reason I got the job was because I DM'd someone on Instagram, and they were working for the student union. And they were like, "How can we get you in here to work?" And I was working more than like a average part-time student. I was working probably like 36 hours a week. For a part-time student, that was a lot. Or for a full-time student, that was a lot to be working that much part-time, in quotes. But I just, yeah, getting out of your comfort zone, reaching out to people, that you didn't know that well. Like I had heard of a videographer that was working for our football team. Reach out to him. I was like, how can I help you guys? Like, what can I do for you? And I wasn't expecting anything. That's another big thing too. A lot of sports jobs today are paid. When I was going through, not so much. So I was just kind of looking for things that could build my portfolio, build my resume, get involved. How can I get experience? Like that was the biggest thing to me because when I'm interviewing an intern or for a full-time position here at the Timber Rattlers, the first thing I ask is never, what's your GPA? What, what classes have you taken in college? It's always, where have you worked? Like, what sports experience do you have? What internships have you taken? Where have you worked before here? That's going to prepare you for this job. It's never about how smart you are, anything like that. I don't care about your test scores. If you know how to do your job and you've done it well for another team, I know that you're probably going to be a good fit here. So,
That's
yeah.
huge, like you're saying
Yeah.
on hiring too, right? Like I think
Yeah.
nowadays, you can send a resume, but like a resume only does so much. So if you can take
Mhm.
the actions of actually reaching out to that person, like you did, like
Absolutely.
DMing people nowadays, like back in the
I
day.
love I love when people are eager. My favorite thing is when they apply and they send me like 4 emails and I'm like, yes. I'm like, obviously you don't want to do that with every employer, but me personally, I eat that up. I'm like, okay, they want this. I love that mentality.
Of just cold calling essentially or cold emailing
Yes,
per se,
yes,
which
that's
is like
huge.
well, especially for on your side too, like you need to have that ambition in people to be able to
Yeah,
actually put your product out there, and if they're not doing that, then they're obviously probably not as inclined. But
yeah.
you brought up a good point too of like it doesn't matter about the GPA, it doesn't matter about the classes you take, but like what's the experience you have and how can you relate it to the position that you're going to be
Mhm.
applying for, and um, I mean, when I was in college too, like there's a lot unpaid. This, when I went to college, not to age myself, but it was the pandemic, so even more
Yep.
excuse to not, essentially do anything. But for you, being a student as well as like working part time, which 36 hours to me, not part time in college. I don't care what you say. That's a full
Period.
time
I
job.
agree.
Um, but I think too is like when you're in college, you're able to do so much. And now, like when
Mhm.
you get out of college, I mean, coming from myself in general, like it's tough to find time and be able to actually do that.
Yep.
So I mean, it's something that I want people listened about when you're talking about that. It's because like you don't only have the opportunity for 4 years. Sometimes, if you're excited, you want to do 5 years, go ahead. You want to do your master's, obviously a little bit more. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm sure we could talk about that. But it's something that we obviously value here on the podcast and being able to put yourself out there, as well as, like you said, if you're looking to apply for the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, send a lot of emails over to Abby. She's fine with
Yes, I love it. I'll
that.
eat it up.
She'll eat it up and you get an opportunity, hopefully. But also something, with your experience moving forward is, being owner of the Salty Lifestyle Collection. Can you kind of talk
Yeah.
about that? It's something that you
Yeah.
continued and stuff. And I like people when they, have their own passion as well outside of the sports, myself included with the sports podcast here, but kind of talk about how that kind of started up and obviously what you've been able to do with it as well.
Yeah, kind of speaking of pandemic, during the pandemic, I was at home and I was able to do a lot of design work, but I just felt like I wasn't doing enough to build my portfolio during that year that I wasn't able to like work in person on anything. And I'm fortunate enough to have a job on a computer. So I can pretty much do everything remote if I need to. But I just wanted to do something. I felt like a lot of the stuff that I was designing, and I find this really important too, wasn't giving me the creative outlet I was looking for because I was doing kind of like I want exactly this, this, this. So I was just kind of putting pen to paper, giving them stuff, but I wanted to do something to show people like, yeah, I actually can illustrate and do all of this stuff as well. And so I started this brand to kind of it sells merch to help the Ocean Conservancy. And I wanted to show people that, like, yeah, I can build a brand that's kind of cool. It doesn't really have to be anything major. But yeah, it was just kind of something fun I do on the side still. I have always loved the ocean. I was a Florida kid and I just, love anything that side of things. And my parents helped me. They were like, yeah, like what if you did something like this and this and this? I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. So then I would kind of translate that into merch and then people could buy my merch and all of the money gets donated to the Ocean Conservancy. So it was just kind of something fun I did as a creative outlet on the side and ended up being a really good thing. So yeah.
It's cool. I think it's something that
Yeah.
I mean we've never had anyone, have kind of that side where they do, especially with the pandemic. Like you found a way to be helpful for the world. And I think of the ocean, and this is bad, but I always think of like sea turtles and stuff. So I'm not sure if that's like I think of like
Yeah.
Finding Nemo or something around
Yes.
science.
Yes.
So I think it's incredible, and especially the ocean. Like unfortunately, we do a lot of pollution, and we throw stuff in the ocean that we obviously shouldn't, but we do because we think it just goes away.
Yep.
Obviously, it doesn't. So the fact that you've been able to move that in a positive mindset as well as like build off your brand, I think the biggest thing nowadays is our brand, our image, and I mean we're basically all NILs in a way because we're
Yep.
name, image, and likeness is so huge for us. And if no one likes it or no one knows about us, we're not obviously going to be, marketable. So
Yeah.
I just think
And like
that's,
kind of, like going back, like how I never used to want to be in the limelight, like people started following me on like Instagram and stuff. And I was like, wait, I can actually use my platform to like share. And I don't have a ton of followers, but it's just kind of like getting that stuff out there and people share your content. And kind of, I was like, I can actually use this platform to like do good too. And so it's not always just about sports, it can be about more and helping you can help your community and whatever you're really passionate about. And for me, it just happens to be the environment. So
and that's
yeah.
that's awesome. We need more of those
Yeah.
people, believe it or not. The world
Yes.
is
Yes,
not
we
going to be
do.
it's not going to be there, the whole time. And it's
Yep.
scary to think that, we're constantly obviously growing as I guess not organization, as a world. But there's
Hmm.
also pros and cons depending on what, things we do as human beings each day. Recycling's huge. At my
Yes.
apartment
Yes.
complex, a lot of people, they won't walk to the recycling, they'll throw in the garbage. It definitely grinds my gears, but I essentially just say, they're doing what's best for them. Um,
Yep.
I'm sure we could talk about that
Oh,
20,
I'm sure we could go on and on
go
about it.
on and on. But this is a sports podcast, so obviously we want,
Yes.
want to keep going with that. Moving forward, you got to work as a graphic designer for the Fond du Lac Dock Spiders. Yes, I
Yep.
said that correct, so people don't have to blast me on that. But what kind of led to that, position? And obviously with baseball, it's pretty crazy because it's constantly go, 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 and no stop, stop, stop. So I'm just curious on that experience for you.
Yeah, so I guess working for the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers, the Fond du Lac Dock Spiders were under the same management. Actually, about a week ago, Diamond Baseball Holdings bought the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. So right now, I'm working for two companies, but we were sister teams and still kind of are. But our marketing team is their marketing team down there. So I do all of their graphics, website design, anything like that, and then we train interns for the summer when the team is in. So I go down there occasionally, but I'm doing everything pretty remotely from Appleton. But yeah, that kind of, after a year of working here, I kind of started to pick up more Doc Spiders projects and implementing ideas for them because unfortunately, Fond du Lac's a small little city and we weren't selling tickets. And marketing is everything when it comes to letting people know what you're all about. We had a pretty bad team. They just, the community was kind of falling away from it a little bit. And I just kind of started implementing ideas and how to build their website, how to get people to buy tickets, what can we do? We need to build their social media. And fortunately, right after I started doing all of the Doc Spiders graphic designs. Our content creator, Michelle, who had been on the podcast before, she was hired. So she was able to help me with the video content down there. And we kind of have been rebuilding their brand, and their social media is up like 50,000 views a week. And, there's just like small little victories for us down there in that community. But it's just finding the connection between the community and that team. But that was just something I did and kind of gave my general manager, our president, some ideas, and he was like, take it and run with it. So, yeah, I just got really involved with the Doc Spiders, but I'm based in Appleton, so I'm still doing stuff for the Timber Rattlers as well. So it can be a little crazy at times, and I have trouble sometimes keeping track of which project is which team too. That does happen quite often. People ask me that all the time, and yes, it is true. So.
It's tough. I mean, now you're part of two different organizations with the news,
Mhm.
breaking, just over a week ago. And like you said too, is like now having Michelle and stuff. It's nice to have two people. I can tell you with
Yeah.
minor league baseball, people haven't known this whole time. Small organization, a lot of things to do. In my mind, much harder than the bigger organizations because they already have that reach and everything. And the fact that
Yep.
you've been able to excel on 50,000 views a week is incredible.
Yes,
Um,
it's great.
I'd love to see that in just like a whole year. So the fact that 50,000 in just that short time shows how
Yeah.
you're able to really paint the picture. And like you said, I think, bringing the fan base together and realizing like, hey, like let's bring back something that's always been a part of Fond du Lac, and it's one of those things too when it comes to baseball. Like baseball is so easy for people to go to. It's a easy family get together. It's not expensive for minor league baseball, which is also nice, especially with all these other sports. Like we were talking with the different sports being very expensive for food. It's nice to be able to spend time with the family, and tickets are obviously very reasonable. But
Yeah.
moving kind of forward to the position you're in right now, obviously still working for both teams. You're a graphic designer and photographer for the Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. How has that been? And I know the season kind of, I'm assuming, has started, correct? Because I know the
Yes.
Major League. Okay,
Yes.
perfect. I'm not wrong there, but how's that been going so far with the season
Yeah.
started?
It's been actually really good. This is only my second full season. When I first started the job, I started in May, so they were already about 2 months in. And I felt like behind. I just, was catching up to the team, didn't really get to know the team very well. Last year was my first full season, so I got my first media day, was doing headshots for the team, actually met the coaches when they came in. And our team was really good last year, so it was really fun to like be involved with them. We made it to the championship. Like it was a great first full season for me. I was lucky. I was in Cleveland at the end of the year. We were playing Lake County, and it was a very eventful season. This is the first season I think where I've been relaxed enough to kind of really be like, okay, this is what everything I need to do, and I'm getting it done sooner so I can implement more ideas and how can we build stuff. And our team is just like beyond great this year for marketing. I have a fantastic intern. We have fantastic interns in our whole marketing team, video production, broadcast, everything is just like above and beyond like MLB level, and you don't really get to see that very often in MILB. And we're all just so like on top of it. Like we're getting complimented from all these people. And it's the first season where I feel like really like, okay, like everything is finally starting to come together for me. So it does take time. And I've only been here, this is now my third season. So people would be like, oh, you've been here for a while, you're good. Like, no, it takes time to, adapt, and we get a new team every year. So I don't ever get used to the players that are here and coaching staff and whatnot. But yeah, it's been a really, really good start to the season so far. So
I think the cool part too, like you said, is like similar to athletes. When they join a team, they're not going to be good right away, and it's
Yeah.
something that you have to kind of put in your perspective. Like, hey, whatever's going to happen is going to happen this year. The cool part is I'm able to come in and join a great team. Like you said, your team did really well, which is really nice too when your organization's obviously winning games. Winning does help, believe it or not, for people who don't know that. Losing does not help. Unfortunately, I was part of a couple losing teams, and I know it definitely was tough to market and grow. But you were saying too is like just the interns that are around you as well as the team, like everyone's awesome MLB level. Like watch out for the MLB. They're definitely gonna be, wanting to get some get called up for the big leagues and everything. But I think the biggest picture too for you is like, yeah, it's your third season and a lot of things are going on. But for you, you're able to have kind of a structure, and it's something that a lot of people, it takes a couple of years to kind of figure out how you can kind of manage it. And now you're in your groove where it's like nothing can kind of phase you, which I think is really cool. Um,
Yeah.
we have a co-host who did hockey operations for the Colgate women's team, and he was
Yep.
talking about how the same thing, like you were saying, where at first it was like, holy cow, like I'm screwing up, I'm making some mistakes, like
Yeah, all the time. It
all the
still
time.
happens occasionally, but yeah, it's also one of those things like it's kind of weird too. I'm coming in fresh out of college. Like I literally started my job 2 days after I graduated college. I walked across the stage. My dad helped me move out of my college apartment, and I was in Wisconsin, living in Appleton at a game. Like it all happened so fast. And it was weird when I started because my intern was older than me. So trying to like adapt that and still like a lot of our interns that are on our marketing team right now are my age or older. And it's just kind of like, okay, like I'm trying not to be, mean, but I don't want to be your boss. I want to be your friend. It's just like one of those things too. And I think this is the first season where I really felt like, okay, I've been here long enough where like this is no longer a problem. So, because they look up to me
Yeah.
as, guidance and stuff. But
Yeah, like the credibility and I mean, being a manager and a leader is tough. I think
absolutely.
you can agree with it. It's like you want to be friends with them, but also like if something doesn't get done, like you also have to break news like, hey, buddy, like let's have a conversation here. Let's figure out
Yep.
what's going to go on moving forward because we need to make sure we hit deadlines, make sure the content's
Yeah.
out there. And so I think it's a learning piece and it's stuff that you're probably going to continue to learn moving
Mhm.
forward. But like the fact that you're finally able to be there and have that excitement, I think is incredible. And I think it's just awesome to highlight your journey and where you've come to. And like you said, you're still kind of younger than some of the interns, and it's kind of ironic, but
Mhm.
you just want to help them to get to their stage and their path in life. And I think it's really incredible. And before we kind of wrap up here, we do like our Flash Friday questions. This is where we kind of be able to ask some questions that we can actually have, more fun with, as well as just for people who
Cool.
reach out. It's just easier to kind of have break the ice per se when it comes to networking and getting in graphic design. First question for me is obviously you like the Florida weather, the weather, the warm weather, and everything. If you could go anywhere and you've never been to this place before, where would you go? Who would go with you? And then we'll throw like a curveball there. What would you eat?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I've always really wanted to go to the Dominican, but because I'm such a big baseball fan, I'd have to take my dad, because my dad and I would go to the Brewers Dominican complex, and visit that. And I freaking love Southern food. Anything that's so spicy that I start sweating, that's probably what I would eat. So being from Wisconsin, everything here is dairy. It's all very plain. I like the spicy stuff. So,
Okay, so like kind of
yep.
ghost pepper level,
Yes.
or are we
I
talking like
probably could do a ghost pepper. I would not be happy about it, but like I would do it.
okay, what's I
Yeah.
guess follow up to that? What's like the spiciest thing that you've ever had in your lifetime?
Oh my gosh. This is gonna sound so lame, but it's the only thing I can think of right now. I was in Nashville and actually I ate at Miranda Lambert's like Casa, whatever, spiciest tacos I've ever had in my life. Like the girl was like, they're hot. And I'm like, I'm fine. And she's like, they're hot. And I was like, okay, like I'm really okay. No, I was not fine. I was hot, like spicy food. But I was fine after like 10 minutes, but that was probably, I don't even remember what they were called. Like, I'm pretty sure I blacked out that entire hour. I was like eating dinner. So,
Kind of mental breakdown there where you're like,
yes,
holy
yes,
cow, I should have listened to the person who actually works at that restaurant versus
yes.
who's like eating the food.
I'm like, I'm good, I swear.
That's crazy. I don't think I could do that because like I'm not like a spicy person, so I think
Hmm.
the spiciest thing I had was like jalapenos that were like very pickled and stuff. And my fiance got it for me, and I tried it, and like I was like dying. Like I was like milk wasn't working,
Dead.
butter wasn't
Yeah.
working. I was like searching YouTube just trying to save my life. So it's kind of funny how you're saying like you
Yeah.
can handle like hot stuff easily. People like myself were in the emergency
But
trying to work
some of
out.
our Dominican players, they come here and they're like, have you ever had this? And I'm like, no, but I want to try it. Like now that they talk about it, like I want to go where they're from and like try their food.
Try their
So
food. The different,
yes.
yeah, the different cultures for, food is different, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Everywhere you go is
absolutely.
different. Like we got the burgers and the most American food, which is pretty easy to get anywhere.
Yes.
But they have like, the Dominican has a lot more opportunities and stuff there as well. Um,
Yeah.
Next question here for you is if you were able to own any team, any sport, what team would it be? And then who would you have as your coach? And then who would you have as the GM and why?
All right. Um, I am a huge Brewer fan through and through. I'm born in Wisconsin, love everything about the Brewers, but I'm also an F1 fan. So like I don't know if this is, do you want me to like answer like baseball?
I know. I mean, F1. Gosh,
Anything?
well, yeah. What's I guess first question before we even go to that? What made
Okay.
you like F1? Because it's now becoming big, and now I think it was in Chicago and Vegas.
Yep.
I'm trying to think
My
of where.
dad.
Your dad?
My
Okay.
dad. My dad always had it on the TV. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so lame, blah, blah, blah. And then I heard the cars and I was like, wait, this is really cool. So I really got into it in the past like 8 years, like really didn't start getting into it until a little bit into high school. And then they made like the Netflix documentary, got into that. You get to know the drivers. And I learned the history of, F1. I'm like, wait, this is iconic. Like this is, I'm a sports fan. If I know about the sport, I'm a fan. Like I would watch anything. But yeah, Ferrari probably would be the team I would
Okay,
buy.
you'd go for.
Yeah,
Would,
yeah. And
would
also
you
because
have
they have
your
Lewis Hamilton. So
that's true. Who would you, so if Lewis Hamilton wasn't there, would you have your dad racing?
no.
Or would you
No, no.
you're like, no.
I know he'll listen to this too. Dad, I love you, but no way. I've
He'll be
seen
the
him
fan
drive on the highway.
because he's
He
not
doesn't go
ready.
fast enough.
Uh-oh. Yeah, that's crazy. F1's becoming like huge now and growing.
Yeah,
I mean, they
yeah.
had it in Vegas. I know there was a couple I guess like the practice rounds were a little bit sketchy. I heard some
Yep.
kind of like panel like flew off or something, which I was like, oh,
Yes.
that's obviously not good. So do you like
Nope.
follow? Do you then follow like all the F1 races? Like, is there when's
Yeah.
we'll do this follow up question. When's the next F1 race? Do you know?
The next F1 race I think is Italy in 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
But I'm going to a race in June. So
Okay.
I'll be in Montreal. I'm going to the Canadian Grand Prix. I'm so excited. I'm like so excited. I'm like buying all my Ferrari merch. I'm like, this is gonna be so exciting. But yeah, we're off of baseball for like 2 weeks in a row, and I'm like, I have to go. It was just too convenient of a time. But yeah, so I'll be going to the F1 race. But I think the next one's in like 2 weeks. So
Oh my
got a
God.
little bit of a break right now.
Yeah. Is that you gonna be your first F1 race like live?
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
So I've always watched it. I feel guilty because I'm going without my dad, but I'm making it to an F1 race before my dad. But I told him I promise when it comes to Chicago we'll go. But yeah, I'm going. I'm super excited. We're
That,
sitting right across from the paddock, and it's gonna be so cool. It's gonna be quite the experience.
it's all right. You can just FaceTime your dad and he'll be okay.
Yeah, I'll be like, hey, yo,
Yeah,
there's
you're
Charles Leclerc, like chilling.
yeah,
It'll
he's
be
like
so
you're
fun.
like, look, this is just almost as good. Your next time it'll be even better. So just prep him. Here's
Yes,
prepping him.
yes.
for the
So
time.
exciting.
But that's exciting. That's why we
Yes.
ask these questions for Flash Fridays because we obviously
Yes.
don't know what levels they go to, and the fact that
Hmm.
one is becoming big, and now you're going to your first race here, and
I know.
in a couple weeks. I'm excited to hear how it goes. Um,
Yes, I'll post about it on social probably like crazy because I'll be
Crazy.
geeking. I'll probably, when I hear the cars, I'll probably just start, tears falling out of my eyes. But
You'd be like, "There's Lewis Hamilton. He's right next to me. This life
ah,
is good."
freaking out,
Yeah.
freaking out.
Well, before we wrap up here, because obviously we love F1. I don't know much about it, so I'll have to kind of tune in myself. But how can our listeners reach out to you? And what is some last minute advice that you give students who are trying to get in the sports industry, or even people who are trying to get back in the sports industry that maybe went outside of sports just during the pandemic itself?
Yeah, especially for the people that were going to go away from it, because there was a while where I was working the long hours and I was like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. Just remember why you did it in the first place. That's my biggest. Remember why you're getting into it, why you're working so hard to do it, because it is super rewarding. And like the people you meet and the job you're doing and the fans you get to see happy, just remember why you're doing it. And I think that's, my best piece of advice that I could give anyone because I know like I needed to hear that at one point, and I'm sure someone else out there does too. It does pay off. So it is good. But I would say the best way to reach me is probably LinkedIn. Super active on LinkedIn, but honestly, any of my social media channels. Pretty chill. You can find my email on the Timber Rattler website. You can email me that way. But yeah, I'm pretty active on my phone and my computer. So, if anyone has like any questions, even if you feel like they're dumb or just want to make a sports friend, I love to do that. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, you love your emails, so we already have
Yeah,
time
I
for that.
do. I do.
Definitely highly recommend maybe starting with the email here versus like the LinkedIn. But either way, she'll
You can
respond.
spam my email, it'd be fine.
There we go. She'll see it. She'll be like, oh, absolutely. This is what I was expecting.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
but thanks, Abby, for being on the podcast here. I want to thank all of our listeners have been through the podcast here, and highly recommend reaching to Abby about graphic design as well as just F1. If you're interested in F1,
Love
like she's
everyone.
obviously interested as well. Further that conversation, and next thing you know, you never know, you guys might be competing against your own F1, I guess racers per se. I don't even know the right terminology, so I'll have to brush up there. But thanks to
Yeah.
everyone, and we'll be back here next Friday.